Let's see it. 2024 is the final battle. They're going after Trump, but if they can get Trump, it means they can get you, they can get me, they can get all of us. He is standing in the way, and that can sound like a campaign slogan, but it's very true. Now we're approaching the most important battle of our lives. Now, for the very first time in
Well, hello everyone. Good evening. It is Captain Kyle here, and welcome to the end game. And we have got a lot of good information for you tonight. I am trying to actually move to another location because my stuff got shut down where I was at. So I am actually moving, and all good. But it's always something. It's like even Robert is had issues with his camera and it's not ever done this before, and it's like whatever, we're doing it. It's not gonna stop us. So anyway,
hey, I got two options. Whoops, I got two options. Ready?
either one,
That's
they're
the
both
best I
good.
can give you.
Yeah, either way, they're both good. Don't worry about it, buddy. And so I have found another location. I think this is going to be better. At least it will be for now until maybe I get run off from it. But oh well, we'll see. So before we get started, let's go ahead and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I just thank you. I thank you for all that you're doing. And Lord, I just ask for you to continually just give us a grateful heart for all that we endure, all that we go through, and the challenges that we face every single day, and that we can match those with a big old huge smile, knowing that we are participating in your plan for humanity. And thank you for allowing us to do that. Father, we just ask for a hedge of protection around everyone that's at the sound of my voice that's on this call. And Father, we just ask for a hedge of protection around our military and the people that are out there performing your work and your will right now, this day. And Lord, I also pray for protection around our leaders, President Trump and his family, and everyone, absolutely everyone that's out there that is trying to help with awakening humanity and bringing your plan into fruition. Father, I just thank you for it. I praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So we're going to just keep it like it is and we'll be fine. So I didn't want to be the only one to have a camera on, and I don't think I'm in a good place for that anyway, actually. I could get run off, so who knows?
Reason for everything.
Waiting for a cop to show up.
So, y'all, Robert's camera isn't working, so that's why you see the brick wall. That's
Yeah.
supposed to be his background.
Exactly. And so it's all good. So, Robert, so what's been going on with you? Sorry, I missed you the other day. It's been this weather in Texas, right here on the coast. It's been absolutely crazy. It's like it'll be storming one minute and be sunny the next, and 20 minutes later it'll be storming again. The lightning's been just nuts. So, anyway, what's going on with you? And there's a lot I want to talk to you about what's going on with Texas and the Alamo and all those things that you found. But
Yeah, man.
what's happening, brother?
Yeah. So I'm still in San Antonio. I got here a week ago. I did not plan on being here this long, but the way things happened and the stuff I started to find became really important. Now, I was reached out to by a group of people, and they're patriots. They're trying to figure out the system. They're working in their own lane, doing their thing. And I don't really understand the stuff they do, so I don't try to interfere in their stuff. But they are intrigued with the stuff we're doing because we're doing some different things than what they're doing, and that's fine. That's how this stuff works. People have to do what they're good at. So they reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, listen, there's some significant stuff here in San Antonio, and when you're coming back through, or you plan on coming?" I said, "Well, I'm going to be coming from Los Angeles, and I plan on passing through Texas on my way to New Orleans." And they were like, "Well, can you stop and maybe spend a day and let me take you around and show you some things that we found that we don't really understand it, but we think that they're significant to the stuff you're doing." And I was like, "Sure, no problem." I haven't been to San Antonio really since I was a mere Airman Basic E1, 1997, when I was stationed at Lackland Air Force Base for basic training. So I came and got off the train and got a vehicle and started driving around, looking around, and lo and behold, after going to the Alamo and looking up and doing some research, figure out that Texas, the people of Texas, issued a second Declaration of Independence, but it was actually a Declaration of Independence from Spain and Britain. So it wasn't an English Declaration of Independence. It was a British-Spanish Declaration of Independence, which is a totally different jurisdiction, which is actually our Western Hemispherical America's jurisdiction. So technically, the American people have 2 declarations of independence that have been recognized. One is for the American colonies and the provinces in North America, the Continental Congress. But the second one is for the American people in the republics in the Western Hemisphere of the Americas. 2 different jurisdictional declarations of independence, which is fascinating. So as we start to go through this and I start to learn about the Alamo and I go through the timeline and I posted the pictures, everything that I'm thinking how this played out is actually backed up on the Alamo timeline. It's talking about how the province of Texas came online, and then how it became, and there's a Republic of West Florida flag that's in the center at the Alamo, and all this stuff, and I'm like, now it makes sense. So the basically the liberation of the Republic of Texas was to liberate the Republic from the forced spread of Catholicism through the Holy Roman Empire, which is Spain and Portugal and Britain.
Right.
So it becomes really fascinating, because then you figure out, well, we need both declarations of independence, and we actually need the Republic of Texas reactivated, because it's only through the Republic of Texas, because that's the only continuing recognized republic for the people. So you have to reactivate the Republic of Texas in its original form from 1845, and then set up an organized political body to actually reactivate the provincial laws and the Inter-American Court of Human Rights to operate originating out of the Republic of Texas. So what we found out was the Alamo is actually technically in legal terms speaking, the Alamo is the people's original American West church. And the Alamo is currently under the United Nations and as a National Heritage the National Heritage Foundation through the United Nations. The Alamo is a American West religious establishment, and that violates Amendment 1. Amendment 1 says Congress can make no law respecting the establishment of religion, right?
Right.
The Alamo is a establishment of religion in the American West, which means Congress cannot make any decisions, any rules regarding an American establishment of religion. It's a direct violation of the first line of Amendment 1. And when Congress and the federal government transferred it to the United Nations, that was a violation of the Bill of Rights. It has to be transferred to the Department of Interior and because it was a fort, it has to be put under the U.S. Army Reserves and U.S. Marine Corps Reserves judge advocates. And it needs to be appointed a governor. Well, that governor is actually the secretary of the Department of Interior. The same governor for Big Cypress National Preserve down in the Everglades in Florida. He's the governor because it's in a national park, which means he needs to be appointed governor for the Alamo and returning it to the American people, which inherently would return it administratively to the Daughters of the Republic of Texas, because they had it first before it was stripped away from them and stolen and given to the United Nations.
Wow, that's a handful.
So the White House...
I'm going through all your pictures right now while you're talking, so just continue.
Yeah. So the White House is the people's house. But the Alamo is the people's original church. And if we're following this in order, It was Thomas Jefferson that purchased Louisiana Purchase, the Republic of West Florida, and the people of Texas. The Republic of West Florida Highway is I-12 in Louisiana. The archives for the Republic of West Florida are held at Louisiana Southern University. So inherently, if you put it together, Thomas Jefferson purchasing the Louisiana Purchase inherently, more than likely, got the Republic of West Florida and the people of Texas to create the Republic of Texas in Louisiana, somewhere near the Republic of West Florida Highway, but it's all connected to the University of Virginia in Monticello, because that was Jefferson's the one that established the University of Virginia at Monticello, which is also under the United Nations as a National Heritage Foundation asset holding, and that is the American people's first American seminary, because that's what a university was in 1800. Universities
Right.
were seminaries.
That's right.
So the Vatican's the People's Church, the University of Virginia and Monticello is the People's Seminary, and the White House is the People's House. But Congress, the federal government, gave it to the United Nations instead of putting it back in the Department of Interior, where it belonged, where it was originally.
Well, how could they do that lawfully?
They didn't. It's against the law.
That's what I'm getting at.
I just don't think anyone's ever raised the petition for grievance. The people need to be the People's Church and sacred ground needs to be returned back to the Department of Interior, inherently returning it back to the American people. Now we have a church, an American religious establishment in the Western Hemisphere.
Which that was key to the fundamental kingdom being replaced or restructured.
That's right. You got to have the physical, jurisdictional establishment. I believe the Alamo is that establishment. The oldest, so interestingly enough, if you look at the pictures, I went to Isleta, New Mexico, which is in the Republic of Texas, because remember, New Mexico, and it goes the Texas Panhandle goes all the way up to Wyoming.
Yeah, no, I got it on right now, actually.
Right. So that line that you're looking at, that Panhandle line, that was a cattle route called the Goodnight Loving Trail that ran from just northwest of San Antonio all the way through Loving County and then up through New Mexico and all the way to Wyoming.
Yeah, that right there.
Yeah. So that follows that trail. Well, up there, there's a mission called, and that's the pictures you see. That mission is called San Agustin de la Isleta Mission. Well, I did some research on it. Apparently, its title is held significantly different. It's considered a Spanish island. Okay, so it's held independently as an island. That's why it's called Isleta. Well, that building is actually still fully functional.
Really?
It's a U.S. post office, it's a governor's office, and it's a tribal administrative office, and it has a trailer off to the side that's a U.S. Census office.
How about that?
But there's no signs. There's no, this is a heritage site. This is a museum. Goes back. There is none of that. This place is fully functional, still operating. And it goes all the way back to the 1820s.
Yeah, it's pretty significant.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that is the origin of Spanish America, religious establishments, and inherently that was in first, and then the Alamo was put in along that trail line down in San Antonio.
Yeah, because it's always been understood in my Texas beliefs that the Alamo, being that it was a mission, was an actual church.
Correct.
As from being Texas,
right,
as a
right.
kid.
But it's more than that.
Yeah, I get that now, but I didn't, from just growing up here and being a part of Texas, right, my whole life, knowing the significance of it was that it was, a mission, it was, a church and those things, but nothing to the degree of what it truly is.
Right. It is literally in comparative terms, the St. Peter's Basilica and is the church of the Eastern Hemisphere. The Alamo is the basilica in the Western Hemisphere.
So I have your PDF open for the Universal Spirit Court of the Laws of Nature. You want to go over that?
Yeah, so that's essentially the mission that has been established here in San Antonio for the purpose of transferring the Alamo, getting the Alamo transferred to the Department of Interior, away from the United Nations and away from the the World Heritage Foundation, and put back with the Department of Interior, having the Secretary of the Interior, Governor appointed, having the U.S. Army and U.S. Marine Corps Reserves reassembled. And I'm pretty sure that when the U.S. Army Reserves are reassembled, they are able to take their guidons into the Alamo and claim their flags, their colors that were here when they were wiped out, and return them back to their homes of record. And they are sitting in the Alamo waiting to be claimed by their rightful owners.
Right.
Which is essentially the American militia, or the regulated militia.
Gotcha.
And that's probably why, if you look at that one picture where it has Texas and it shows all the way over to like Scotland and Germany and Denmark and Ireland, I'm pretty sure that
I'd have to go back to that.
That what they did is, because they had all the American militia parked in the Alamo, abandoned. Well, not abandoned, left because the troops died, right? They were left there. The colors were never claimed. They actually took the Irish people and the Danish people and the German people and the Scottish people, and they parked their colors in the Alamo with them.
I mean, all this is just like incredible.
Yeah, it was really. I've been here a week. It's been fascinating, and I'm like, wow. Of course, there's a road here in San Antonio called Hemisphere Drive. They have the Tower of the Americas. Well, that's the Western Hemisphere. And then we found out. So, additionally, in 1960, so we figured it out. So I don't know if I ever told you this. Did I tell you that I went into 2 courts in Florida where the judges specifically said that all civil courts in the Western Hemisphere have been moved or all courts in the Western Hemisphere have been civil since 1969?
Yes.
Have I ever told you about that? Okay, well, Here's this. So apparently in 1968, the World's Fair happened, but it was called a World's Fair, but it was actually a hemisphere. Happened in 1968 here in San Antonio. apparently doing some research, that event was a massive land transfer. After that, during that event, they were transferring the land. Okay, and
Well,
that's what the
that's what they always did. That's how they got together.
That's how they got together, and they had a whole celebration. But they were actually doing a massive legal law event, something. So that was 1968. So think about it this way: I know I'm a member of the International Bar Association. The court that I'm a member of is the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, which is the Western Hemispherical America's court at the Organization of American States, right? Okay. If this is correct, then in 1968, at the Hemisphere in San Antonio, they transferred the land, separating it from the ground, and that means it's not a holding anymore. And they transferred the land to the states, which are under maritime law, under revenue. A massive transfer happened, and the American Bar Association and whoever was aligned with them got hemispherical jurisdiction after that event. Okay? That would mean that would explain why in 1969 at the Pan American Act they changed the jurisdiction of all courts in the Western Hemisphere to civil courts, getting rid of the chancery courts, getting rid of the common law courts, getting rid of the lawful probate courts, getting rid of all of them. They were all civil courts after that. They were maritime civil courts after 1969. And if you look at the influx of lawsuits, when you hit 1972, lawsuits and all this garbage starts and it skyrockets.
Yeah, because there really wasn't lawsuits and things of that nature
until 72.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going like pre-70s,
Right.
And it seems that after 70s, like, getting into the 80s and 90s, they've only just exponentially grown. And that's where you started getting all of your, ambulance chaser, legal, attorneys,
Yep.
and all of that. Prior to, the 70s, earlier than that, it was either like corporate law or, it was a totally different legal world.
Right. Because
it makes all sense, putting it all together in my head.
Right. Because they got rid of the lawyers on record. They got rid of the record. They got rid of the official record, and they got rid of the ability to be emancipated and attain capacity, and everything went civil for profit.
Yeah.
And that's what everything's turned into. So we're pretty sure that this is it. This is where they did it. This is the switch that was thrown.
And that would also line up with the expiring of the Bretton Woods Agreement and everything else with the financial.
Yep, exactly. So we're going to put the organization in, and we're going to work to get it switched back. I've already talked to 3 people to be the trustees of the organization that's going to do it. They have agreed. My understanding is they're all either registered militarily, or they have security clearances or political qualifications that will allow them to be the trustees. They have already, all 3 of them have agreed, and I am working up the petition right now to submit to our trustee at the equity court and to send it out to the Secretary of State, Department, all the people that have to receive it, requesting this reformation and change, and having the Alamo first moved into the Department of Interior. And also, I had a conversation with an individual from the Daughters of the Republic of Texas yesterday. It was a really good conversation, and they've been trying to get the Alamo back and to get their stuff back that was taken from them by these legalese firms. So I had a conversation with them. We haven't worked out anything official yet, but we're going to request that the Daughters of the Republic of Texas reassume their archival and administrative roles and take over the Alamo where they were. They had been there for years until they took it away from them. And they're a qualified record keeper and administrator, which means that they can handle the clerk duties for the court of record that would go into the Alamo and reactivate the Republic of Texas.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome.
So, yeah, it's pretty exciting. I never realized it should have made sense because Florida and Texas, while they're both independent, the Floridians and the Texans really do have this kind of different type of mentality that they go well together, but it is a different mentality than basically the rest of the country.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. And, that's one of the things that, Texas has been actually working towards and trying to basically reestablish its
foundation. It's provincial.
For,
apparently it's their. Yeah, I mean, well, really, it's to reestablish the provincial. So if you look at the Texas flags on those pictures, you'll see a flag that's blue with a white star. Well, that is technically the Republic of West Florida flag. But if you look at the one for Texas, inside the star, it says Texas. Come to find out, that's Texas's provincial flag. So Texas adopted a provincial flag that is actually the Republic of West Florida flag with the word Texas inside the star before the Texas state territory flag came on, which is the flag you guys fly now for your state. Which would further lead to reasonably that it was a relationship between the Republic of West Florida and the people of Florida and the people of Texas coming together that actually set this thing off.
That's amazing. I'm just trying to wrap my head around so much of the information and the significance of it all.
Yeah, it's really. I'm pretty sure this is the crux. The other thing that we found out after doing the research into the Republic of Texas, to have a republic, you have to be in international or hemispherical law. Nobody knew that. And you to be a Western hemispherical republic, you have to have a map that zeroes your prime meridian to Washington, D.C.
So what's the significance of that?
Well, it has to do with Greenwich time in the Eastern Hemisphere versus your central prime meridian for that jurisdiction, cutting it away. So if you look at that picture, that map, I took a picture. If you look at the one at the top, it says Washington, D.C. If you look at the numbers on the longitude, those are zeroed to 23rd Street and E Street in Washington, D.C., which is where the State Department is.
So how is this moving us forward right at the moment?
Well, until the Alamo is transferred into the Department of Interior,
right,
you can't reestablish an operating republic. nor can you get the military to have a access point to come out of a jurisdiction and be transferred onto the land and operate domestically or territorially. They have to go through that church because sworn oaths are religious, and they can only be prosecuted under a religious establishment. So we don't even have a court to prosecute the people who have done all this because we don't have an actual religious establishment to actually set up the court to actually prosecute them. That's why nothing's been done.
So, with understanding that, because Texas has its own guard, right, and it's actually considered its own army.
Correct.
Of over 100,000, actually, and it is actually different than most. Well, actually, it's different than everybody's actual reserves.
Right. But the guard is a state guard. It's the actual U.S. military reserve units.
Which is the land, not the ground, right?
Which is the land, not the ground. It's the
And
land without the ground.
We've got to bring those two back together.
Correct. It's the U.S. military reserves that are the actual regulated militia. That's the people's military. The guard units are for the state. So what I think happened was the reserves or the militia that fought in Texas at the Alamo were decimated and wiped out, right? Which inherently wiped out the militia. But then Sam Houston had to bring the National Guard in to fight Santana, but the militia was never reassembled. And that's the reserves. Because the 10th Amendment says that all powers not granted to the United States will be reserved to the states respectively and the people. Well, if you take it in context, that means the United States has active duty, the states respective is the National Guard, and the people is the U.S. military reserves, which means that's their military.
Man, this is such a freaking word salad from hell.
And that's why it's called a Federal Reserve. It's called a Federal Reserve because they took the reserves that were the people's under Amendment 10 and they federalized them and put them under banking law as a banking force. And a lot of people don't know this. Our Navy SEALs, Delta Force, all those guys that are high tier 1 operators, those guys are all reservists. They're operating in reserves. They're not active duty. And I had a suspicion that was true. I had a suspicion that I figured out that the reserves were Amendment 10. It was the end of Amendment 10. And I had a suspicion that it was all the high tier level, not just the regular reserves, but the actual, our special operators, our clandestine operators, our tier 1 guys are all actually under the reserves. That's why they operate because they're operating through Amendment 2 also, or Article 2. They're not operating with Congress, right? And then I met somebody who was Navy, and I said that to her, and she goes, that makes so much sense. She goes, I used to date a Navy SEAL, and he kept saying that he would take contracts, but he was like a reservist, like he wasn't active duty. He had like it was a reserve thing, and I could never figure out because he was a full-time SEAL. I'm like, oh, well, now we know. There it is. That's why.
So they're active. Their status is just different.
Yes, they fall under a different set of laws, which means they can operate under the Declaration of Independence under contracted alliances. So they have to take contracts for missions.
Yeah, that also gives them
a lot of autonomy.
Yeah, different rules of engagement too.
Absolutely. Absolutely it does, because they're the highest form of force because they're operating through that reserve status. It changes the whole game for them.
Yeah, and like you said, it doesn't have to be to where anybody knows it. That's the operation that they're operating in.
Probably, most likely, the only ones that really know how it's structured are probably the judge advocates, and they're not allowed to say anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would think that because you wouldn't get clarification.
Right.
Because it works in secrecy anyway. It's all black.
Right. Well, it's all gray. They're all gray men.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's, but inherently, if you're following the rules about the separation of church and state, and you're taking the position that there's a trust division and a commerce maritime position, right? And there's two sides. And when Article 3, remember we had the debate where he was talking and he read Article 3 and it said law and equity versus admiralty and maritime. And we take that as commerce and trade and maritime versus trust in law and equity. And we stay on that principle, which is held true this whole time. Then it would be inherent to say that law operates out of the Alamo, but equity operates out of the University of Virginia at seminary. And one is American common law, and one is American canon law.
Wow, it's just so much to wrap your head around at the time.
Yeah. But it all lines up. Even the dates with the fair, and then the switching of the civil courts in 1969, and then basically the degradation of the entire system after that all lines up.
Yeah, because you had the expiration of the Bretton Woods Agreement, which was the world financial crap of the dollar and so on and so forth, and then going into the new petrodollar, which was established in 73 to going into 74.
Yep, right there, right after. They would have had the capacity to do it. And they would have been holding the power.
The court, basically all the lawsuits began pretty much in the 70s, going on into they're out of control now. Everybody wants to sue everybody.
Well, we can't get any law facts. There's no facts in law. Everything's a stupid opinion from another idiot.
Well, this is just, it's amazing. So keep on with what you're doing and keep us informed.
Yeah. So we are stepping up. I don't know if you saw it. We're stepping up out of Continental, and we're stepping into Western Hemispherical and in the Americas and International with the Inter-American Court of Human Rights. So that's why we have to shut down the shares. We've been granted, remember I told you before that we got authorized for crypto?
Yes.
because we're authorized for crypto, we can go to global if we want to. I'm hesitant to even step out off the continent and step into a higher jurisdiction, but the only way that we're going to be able to facilitate getting this done, now that I know where the Republic sits, is to step up into that capacity. And we can't operate the way it works is you can't be in all of them. You have to kind of step up and let one go as you step up, and then you leave that behind to be filled in capacity where it is. That's kind of how this works. So we have the ability to go to global, but we are stepping out of continental. So that's why we have to shut the shares down, because we'll be operating hemispherically. So we won't. It's not the requirements aren't as stringent for us to be in every single district or province, because we're going to be at a hemispherical capacity.
Which, in my opinion, is better because it's where we're all going to begin with.
Well, it also brings us closer because the War Department has already openly stated that
that's
they're
what I'm talking
operating
about.
hemispherically. Yes. So
that's what I'm talking about.
Closer. We're getting closer.
Yes, because that brings the two closer together in what I've talked about before, and the upside going to the downside and coming together. That's where I think they're going to meet.
Right. But if we didn't have that, if we hadn't gotten that authorization to do global transactions, we would not be able to step up like this. So it's only because they opened that up for us that we're able to step into it and operate within it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty awesome, actually, because now it actually gives me a better picture of what I see in the handshake, because that's what it's coming to.
Yep. Yes.
And I know people don't understand what I just said, but that's okay. You will one day.
That's funny. Yeah. So, and that was the purpose.
I was going to say, I didn't understand that, Captain.
Well, you get the opportunity for me to tell you outside of here.
Okay.
And that's okay, because it's not ready to be discussed.
Yeah.
But it is coming. Well, that's awesome, man. I'm excited. Anything else you want to talk to about before we maybe take a few questions and stuff, and then
no, man.
Go from there.
I think
I posted all your stuff. I also posted over about the reason for the minimizing of the shares, and so stopping the shares and all that stuff, and what we're talking about right now. And so I posted all that. I posted every one of the pictures, the videos, and all that stuff that we're.
I posted your website. Right,
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So.
No, let's take some questions.
All right, go ahead, Kelly.
Okay, here's one from Rumble. Is there a lot to be done before we go back to being a republic?
There is a lot of work, and this is where people need to understand that patience is going to become a virtue, because things aren't going to go as fast as everybody wants. Number one. Number two, there are going to be roles to play that people can't even imagine, because these jurisdictions have been dormant for so long, and they're going to need seats filled to do this work. There's going to be a role to play for a great many people. So yes, there is a ton of work from transferring holding assets or documents or records to building new facilities to hold them, new depositories, new courthouses. There is a ton of work that's going to have to be done that'll probably go on for at least a decade or two. This stuff's all been missing for over 100 years.
Well, let's put that back into perspective. Under normal circumstances, I would have to agree with that. But with the technologies that are coming into to be and that are coming online with quantum AI, the Genesis project, and a lot of these other things, it's not going to take as long as what it would have if all of that stuff stayed hidden like they intended it to be.
I agree with
Yes.
that.
Because you can do things that it would take you and I, months and months, could be done in minutes with some of the technology that's coming, because of the abilities that is going to be gathered through all of this. So don't now they're still going to need people to be in positions to oversee things and to take roles. That won't change. So a part of being a republic is actually being responsible for your community and for that development, but it's as an overseer. That's the thing. It's going to be a lot different than how it has been in the past. Um, Even education, all these things are going to take a completely different role over the next couple of years. So don't be disheartened by the thought that under normal situations it would take 5-10 years to do these things. It could be 2 years and done, because aren't we're not familiar with how things are being established
And
on
prepared to be
the other side. Correct. That's a part of the handshake that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because there was a thing. Remember when we talked about the was it the Heritage Foundation?
Yeah.
There are organizations that are operating right now that are doing the exact same thing from the top down, and with a completely different technology base. It's not being done by labor, it's being done by
Robotics.
efficiency.
Robotics.
Yeah, talking about like the Deutsch team, things of that nature, and that kind of implementation being slapped to it. Totally different category of work being done. So, top, bottom, handshake. It's coming.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
agree with that.
speaking of the AI, someone asked, what are the reasons for all the data centers and the toxic emissions that will be released to the environment and all the water consumption they must use daily?
Okay, so what toxic emissions?
Yeah, that's what I was
Okay,
wondering.
because they don't. This is all scare stuff. There's
Yeah.
really no. It's computer systems. Okay, do you have a toxic computer in your house if you got 10 of them, or if you got 100 of them? No. I have data centers that are considered to be rack rooms that I go into and am very familiar with. And that would be just like that, but at an exponentially huge difference. Okay. But the water, it's not being consumed, it's being used.
Isn't it being recycled?
Yes, absolutely
Well,
it
yeah,
is.
it's just a medium of exchange.
All it is it's using the water to cool, but then the water basically goes where? It disappears into the atmosphere, you lose it forever? No. This is what's crazy out there. It's just like, plants and everything else. We have water towers, we have our own water cooling systems and everything else. And basically, you use the water, use through cooling water towers and things like that to cool, process, and everything else. And this is on a massive scale. And the water that evaporates, where does it go? Oh, it goes into the atmosphere, and then it rains. It comes right back down, and then we use it. We don't. It's not being disappeared. And a lot of it is, on those cases, is going to be recirculated, meaning it's going to go in, it's going to go out, it's going to go back into holding vessels and tanks and ponds and things like that, and then brought right back in for another round.
Yeah, not only that, people need to realize that they're breaking up these isolated power facilities, these like power lines all over the country where you're wiped out and there's no power anywhere. These data centers are going to be producing electricity that are then going to go into the communities around them to break up this utility monopoly that's been going on.
Amen.
Yeah, and they're going to produce, they will produce so much power that independently they have to, because there can't ever be a glitch in their power in the way that it operates. So they will be producing in excess so much over the board so that they don't ever have to worry about it. And that's with intent. All of that extra goes into the power grid, just like you said, and takes away from the dominance of the utility companies that are out there that are just fucking criminal.
Right. Right. So people have to realize that you're not going to have, we're not going to have these isolated power plants, all, one of them, and it's a whole region or whatever. You're going to have these production facilities, these data places that produce power. And if you get hit with a hurricane or something like that, there's going to be a redundancy to get the system back up faster without having to, so you won't have those problems. And it creates a national defense issue, because now you have an overlapping grid system where if you lose it in one place because of a hurricane, an earthquake, whatever, the other systems pick up the load.
It's kind of like Texas has its own power grid, and Texas should never go offline because
Correct.
of the capabilities that we have. So Correct. When we saw back in several years ago, when we had the freeze and the power ended up going out and people ended up dying because of it, that was criminal negligence, because they actually intentionally put majority of the grid on systems that were the green energy that were not going to be able to survive that cold and the freezing that we got, that snow. And because of it, it tripped multiple parts of the Texas power energy grids. And the situation is that they had generators that were sitting there in standby that were operational through natural gas only. You do not freeze natural gas. It could be 30 degrees below zero. Natural gas ain't freezing, people.
Right. It's a natural cryogenic.
And so basically, those power stations, not a one of them would have tripped, not a one power station would have went offline, but that was done intentionally. That crisis was intentionally done by the deep state. Intentionally. People murdered people by doing that.
Yep.
Wasn't an accident, wasn't an act of Mother Nature. It was intentional, because they knew, just like I know, the cause and effect of that very topic, and that they chose to do that intentionally, knowing that it was going to actually go offline and people were going to die from it. That was intentional. And the insurance cost and everything that was done on top of that, all of that was done intentionally.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Okay. There's two questions here about the EAS. One says, what is the event or events that will activate the EAS? And then another person asks, is there still going to be one?
yes, and it's going to be an actual standoff between the superpowers, and it's going to actually scare the shit out of people. It's coming.
So the next person says, give us some encouragement when this will be over. Do you feel by July 4th?
No, it won't be over by July 4th, but things will be different by July 4th.
I agree with that. I think they're moving as quick as they can, but the things will be different by July 4th. I think July 4th is going to be a a world's kind of fair reversal celebration. Um, and but there's going to be a lot to do. It's going to continue for a while. There's just a
Yes,
lot.
and
There's
that's
just a lot of
intentional.
things that aren't operating.
Yeah, and that's intentional. Um,
So,
so we have to, everything has to be torn down. We have to go through our things that we're going to go through. But then the reconstruction and the rebuilding and the redevelopment, so much will happen before that that's going to change our mindset completely. That when we start going down that recovery path, everybody's going to be on board with that and happier than a pig in shit. We're going that way.
Yeah, I agree.
speaking of July 4th, I was listening to one of uh, the health organizations, I guess, pressers, and they were talking about some new things they're doing. And one of the women said that President Trump was asking them to complete whatever it was they were working on by the 4th of July. So if you all remember the World's Fairs, a lot of what that was about was introducing new technology, and I'm wondering if they're going to be doing that. What do you think, Captain?
No, they will be doing that. That's a whole part of what it's all about. If you go in and you read, why don't you do that, Kelly? Why don't you pull up the, you know what you and I looked at on, um, what's their name's website?
Oh, the Iversol Lockwood,
Yeah,
or
Lockwood's website,
yeah,
and the
yeah.
list of the event type things.
Okay,
Even go back to the one that was the previous one where they were, the, because it's all going to be encompassing, meaning that the time that they were going to start their stuff, meaning um, this past year for the year celebration, blah, 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 and all of those events and where they were going to be at, all of those are still going to be going on, even though it's not going to be the times and dates that are a part of what's on that list.
yeah, I'm gonna search for my post that I made that shows those two different options. I guess that was last year we were looking at that, right? And
Yes,
I'll repost that so for people that didn't see it, because there
because
were
it was like Memorial Day to January, I mean, July 1st. I think it was Memorial Day last year to then. And there were a lot of different options on how it was going to be, where it was going to be, Kennedy Space Center, all these different places. Um, and there are going to be major exhibits of that very thing, just like it was. If you go back and you look in the old World's Fairs, they had the technologies. It wasn't that they discovered them. They had these technologies and they had them out in front of the public. And what they would do is all of the leaders, all of the deep state people would come together and they would decide on what they were going to use going forward with them and which ones they were going to hide and never bring into existence.
Okay, so I will look for that and get that reposted for the people that didn't see it because it's really exciting. The one that they said was going to start, I guess, last year was very simple, just like kind of like a country fair with that you would expect to go to. And then they said, or the option B was the one where you would start see all the new technologies and the futuristic stuff, and that would be held in Florida in Cape Canaveral. So,
And
it,
that's kind of like massive events, hands on, seeing things, experiencing things that are going to introduce the public to a whole new reality.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Oh, here it is. I found it. Option A or option B. Okay, here we go. I'm going to repost it right now to Captain's main channel so y'all can look at it.
And
Okay.
don't take the dates and all that stuff. Don't just take the information.
Yes. And all the different options are listed with links there that you can look at them. I remember doing this post. It was really exciting.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm going to look at it myself again.
like I said, it's all coming, and there's so much more that you won't even realize it until the time comes.
Okay. So the next question is Robert. Let's see. Can Robert tell us what the importance of land patents are that were signed by a president in the 1800s?
Well, that's interesting. There is actually no importance for land patents when it comes to the actual inhabitants. Land patents were given out because we were in expansion mode, and those land patents inherently were given through the Department of Interior, who generated titles up until before 1862, and then those titles after 1862 Railway and Telegraph Act, it was the Department of Interior that was commanded by Congress to transfer the titles that had been originated to the railroad companies whenever one of their roads or whenever a road or whenever their telegraph line or their which was an electrical line, utility line back in the 1862, whenever it touched telegraph a road touched a telegraph or a railway line, the title for that land had to be transferred to the railroad company, to the private railroad company. That private railroad company collected all these titles and then inherently deposited them at we're pretty sure the University of Iowa, which is where and we call that private railroad company today the federal government. So the federal government is actually a private railroad company with dispersing titles to their states of state territories, which is what you call the state of, and those states of are holding those titles for the private railroad company, and they issue deeds. So the taxes that you're paying, the federal government, the states of Florida, the state of Texas, that are the land management offices and all that other stuff, are actually a private railroad company.
So,
Land patents have nothing to do with us anymore. We are not in expansion.
so like railroad lines. This is something
Yeah.
I found out years ago, and it really kind of shocked me. But like a say a oil refinery or a chemical plant or anything like that that has a oil. I mean, like has railroad tracks that go into them and stuff and goes
Yep.
through them. That like the ones that are on like say the ship channel over here, those are all considered to be MARSOC um, facilities. They're
Because
governed
they're
by
on the
the
river.
Coast Guard,
They're on the river, right?
and yeah, they're governed by the Coast Guard and maritime law and all that because they're right on the water, right? And
Right.
so basically, they have heavy security, guard,
Right.
gates, security, all that kind of stuff. But the deal is that you can actually walk straight into them if you walk down the railroad tracks, right in the middle of the railroad tracks as you walk. You can walk right into the middle of the facilities. You can be a fucking terrorist and you can walk right into them. They can't stop you. They can't get you off the line. The only way that they have any jurisdiction over you is if you step outside of the railroad tracks.
Right. Because that trust is dormant, there's no administrative or guardianship active on that. And that's part of this whole thing of reactivating these jurisdictions. That's why that's allowed to happen.
Yeah, because it's like they'll sit there and tell you they'll tell you to get off the tracks, get out of it. As soon as you do, then they have you're criminally trespassing, right?
Right.
And then they can actually get you. But as long as you're in between the tracks, they can't touch you, and you can turn around and walk right back out. And the thing is that once you get off of the tracks, wherever you get off of them,
they're coming to get you.
Thing. You're in a world of shit. But
right.
Like I said, that is a major vulnerability to all of these facilities and everything else because of that gap. That is a hole in the security at every facility that's out there, every single one.
Right. And so the legal reason is because the facility is in a place where it's not supposed to be. It's under the federal government. The track is actually in North America. So, but because of the screwed up system, there's no mechanism to fill that gap because you would have to get the facility out of the federal government, which is under profit, into an equitable capacity within the United States of America or within the United States, which would take away its ability to be profited off of. So what they do is they leave us vulnerable with these gaps because they won't make money off of it if they switch it, which is inherently what they do to the Alamo.
Yeah,
instead of returning the Alamo to the people and giving it back to the military reserves, putting it back in the Department of Interior, they sent it to the United Nations so they can continue to profit off of it. Same thing, same problem.
Yeah, I can see it all now. I mean, it makes much more sense after we talked about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd already read all of the stuff and I already looked at it all, so it's not like I was just now exposed to it. But
so
it's
and people get upset because they're like, well, they treat us like we're corporations. No, you don't understand.
That's what your straw man is.
That's all they can talk to. They're not allowed to talk to anything but a corporation. So they can never see you as a man, as a human being, in equity. They can't because their scope of jurisdiction can only speak to corporations. The dead cannot talk to the living.
Procedures and rules.
Yes.
That's why everything is written in policy language and ordinances.
Right.
And so
legalese.
Exactly right.
It's because it's an opinion, number one. There are no courts of fact, number two. And they are the dead that are only allowed to talk to the dead that's in the underworld in Hades with them. They cannot speak to the living. So you're not called a corporation because they're discrediting you. They're calling you a corporation because that's all they can see. That's all they can talk to.
That's exactly right. And it sucks because no matter what, they can look at the living human, but that's not who they're talking to.
Because they're not allowed. And really, they're actually staying in their lane when you go in there and you try to pull something with law or common law or equity or whatever else, and you're acting out of the capacity that they're allowed to operate.
So, that's something that I was told a long time ago, is that if you go to court, you can't use the Constitution. You have to use the Bill of Rights.
Correct. But you have to make an official appearance, and you have to provide something that gives you capacity for the Bill of Rights, like your TWIC card.
Yeah. I get it.
Will give you capacity.
Yeah. And that's the only thing that you can use, because they have co-opted all the rest of it. The Bill of Rights only gives you the ability to have a voice.
That's
in
correct.
The court system.
Correct.
And
so it's crazy. But what the real problem is not that they can only talk to corporations. The real problem is we have not put together our shit so that we don't only have that option. That's our problem. And that's what we're doing. I'm traveling around the country. You realize I left on March 30th from Delaware? I've been on the road for 24 days.
Oh.
I have no compassion whatsoever for you. None.
Thanks.
None.
Thanks.
Because until you've been at sea for 8 months or a year, you don't even have a clue. Live out that freaking suitcase, big boy.
We have listen,
because
I did my
this is what it was like.
Of
this is how we used to say it. We lived in prison with a chance of drowning.
That's actually probably pretty close to true.
Absolutely it was, because you were limited on how far you could go, and you are always at the threat of drowning.
Are you saying that you were in a community restrained institution or facility?
Absolutely. And the only good thing about it is I was the head dog.
That's funny.
Okay,
so
here's another one, Robert.
Go ahead.
Robert, have you been to Michigan? Do you need me to be a shareholder in Berry County?
I was in Michigan for a week. We put 4 vaults in. I'm just going to say the name, and we actually came to an agreement with the Michigan General Assembly to they are going to act as the authorizer for state organized organizations, state level organizations. We put, I guess it doesn't matter. We got to start talking about it. We have a organizational vault, county community vault in Allegan, Kalamazoo, St. Joe's, and Chippewa counties in Michigan. 3 of them are in District 5, Emergency Response District 5, which means that I think they get 4 more. They can actually stand up the emergency district. And one of them is up in the Upper Peninsula in Chippewa County in District 8 or 9, I think. So we've also been to Los Angeles. So we have a vault in Los Angeles now. We have an access point in El Paso, and we have this expanded mission access point here in San Antonio,
which is vital.
Which is what?
Vital.
Well, this one's vital because this one's at a Republic of Texas jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, this one's vital, big time. Hopefully, I had a conversation with a member of, actually, she was a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution and the Daughters of the Republic of Texas. It was a good conversation, and we're hoping that when we get this done and we do this, we're hoping to get. They were already the administrative archival record keeper for the Republic of Texas. So we're hoping that we can get those capacities transferred back to them because they were already operating there. And the Daughters of the Republic of Texas is a significantly strong
organization. Very
yes,
much so. Yes.
So
Hey,
if you were going to have, go ahead.
So I was going to say that I need to talk to you about those things we discussed before, where you had groups that were, or somebody that was that worked on transferring deed titles and land and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and this whole
Because
thing plays into that
I
whole
need to talk to you
all
about
that.
that specifically.
Okay, you can call me.
So I was just putting it out there. I keep forgetting that I need to talk to you about it specifically.
Okay, so we have someone from Australia that is asking. Robert said certain things need to be done before America can become a republic. The current situation with Australia, will we ever become our own republic?
I believe that, and I've said this before. I know for a fact that Australia is our southern counterpart for the North American continent. I know and actually, this might come back to the Republic of Texas, because if you look on that picture where it shows the Scottish are actually held at the Alamo. Also, the Scottish people are held at the Alamo. Australia is on the territory, and American Samoa in that Southeast Pacific is on the territory of Wallis and Fortuna. I have a feeling that whatever's connected to the Alamo with whatever they did is actually what's causing the problems in Australia and the South Pacific also. I think they're connected through
I would
Spain and the
agree with
British
that.
and Portugal. And Portugal,
Yeah, I
Spain,
would
and the
agree
British.
with that because they're
So
supposed to
come to
come
find
into
out,
the under the umbrella of the Northern Hemisphere Republic, which is the New Americas,
right?
and um, there's a couple that are supposed to go away that are considered to be territories now of the United States. I think we talked about that before. Um, was it Guam or some other? I don't
I think
remember
it's
which
the
one.
Philippines.
Yeah, that's not a part of. That will go back to its own ancestral areas, but um,
The Federated States of
Hawaii,
Micronesia are going to go
yeah,
away.
Hawaii, Australia, Greenland, all of that whole thing's going to be under the umbrella of the New Americas. And will you have? It'll be like Texas as its own republic within the constitutional republic. It it's the way it was supposed to be before they screwed it all up.
Right, right. And I think Australia is going to fall. I think that's why our currency, like we got authorized for global. I think because they're moving, they're not gonna do it the way that they've done it, right? And they're moving the Federal Reserve under the Treasury Department. And I think the other reason we got global was because this does tie in to Australia and the territory that they've been put under and all this other stuff that's all convoluted and mixed up all over the place.
And so actually the Federal Reserve is already under the Treasury Department.
Right.
It
Right.
was moved there under the it was I think it was May of 2020 under the emergency act that President Trump did, and he actually moved the Federal Reserve under the Treasury Department then. And you can see after that was done, other entities that were always supposed to be in the Treasury Department, like the Secret Service and other entities, are now back under the Treasury Department like they're supposed to be.
Which makes sense. Because that's the problem with this stuff. What we didn't realize is you got to think of like a chain. And what they've done, what they do is they find technically the weakest link, and then they take that link out, and it causes a break in the circuit where now the system can't talk to each other, and they move that link somewhere else, and that link, and then one side of that link may still go to one side, but they put this whole convoluted metastasized mess in the middle of it. And then there's just a wire that runs to the old link and a wire that runs to the other side of the link. But you got to go through this entire mess that they created, and it's all to get funds or money sent to certain people, like a distribution center.
Yeah. All right, Kelly. Let's go with one more question.
Okay. Read through these because a lot of them just don't pertain to what we're talking about.
Maybe what we'll do, Kelly, is over the next 3 or 4 days or something, we'll take some questions, and then me and you will just come and do a show where we'll just do questions.
Yeah, that would be great. I think it's
all right. Why don't we just do that?
Okay, that sounds great.
All right, Robert, it's been awesome, buddy. I will call you in the next day or two, and we'll talk about what I was talking to you about before.
Sounds good.
About the deed and the transfers and all that other kind of crap. And then we'll just kind of go from there. So I've enjoyed this conversation, and I think it's really important that people kind of start to get their feet on the ground with this word salad that's been done to us and just kind of tossed. That's what it was. It's been a tossed word salad. And it's all been trying to figure it all out. And it is a good thing that the Spirit has led us so close to so many things that we had no idea what they were just 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's really a lot's opened up. Man, who knew that it was Texas and Florida that are going to set the anchors?
And it's funny because there's been so much emphasis even on Texas and Florida over the last couple of years as well.
I know.
In different areas, but they've been the focal points.
Yeah. And there's a legitimate reason why.
And that makes even more sense why the Democrats have been trying so diligently to flip Texas to blue criminally. I mean, they've cheated here so badly. It is just unreal. And they just haven't been able to accomplish it. They do it in the cities, but they can't do it in the overall state. No matter, I mean, they cheat their ass off too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's Texas. Like, that's just how Texas is.
All right, Robert. It's been a great talk. I enjoyed it. Everyone, Kelly, it's been incredible, and we'll talk to you guys again very soon.
Yes, and y'all, we'll set up a Q&A where it'll be just Captain and I, and we'll take all kinds of questions. Anything you want to bring us.
Absolutely.
You guys take care. Have a good night. God bless.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. Enjoyed it.
All right.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Good night.